Welcome to Betrayal Recovery Radio, the official podcast of APSATS, the Association of Partners of Sex Addict Trauma Specialists, hosted by Dr. Jake Porter. APSATS is a nonprofit organization providing professional training and compassionate support to partners affected by problematic sexual behavior and betrayal trauma. In each episode, Dr. Jake guides a conversation of enlightening insights and practical tools to empower those affected by sex addiction and betrayal trauma to use their voices and live their values. The mission of Betrayal Recovery Radio is to offer hope to those in need of healing and growth to those moving through grief. And now, here's your host, Dr. Jake Porter.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is you're joining in and listening in on this episode of Betrayal Recovery Radio. I am your host, Dr. Jake Porter, and I'm grateful to be with you today. If you are listening in, there is no doubt in my mind that hope is something that you either really need or really need to hold on to. In this journey toward healing after the discovery of betrayal, hope is a critical factor that allows us to continue on. And I'm not just saying this as a person who values hope myself, but this is what the research actually shows us about facing traumas and healing from these adversities. And healing a relationship that's impacted by addiction, adultery, betrayal, that requires hope as well, healing individually and healing together. And many who are on this journey find themselves feeling hopeless after discovery and struggling to imagine having hope again. But hope is an anchor that keeps us grounded in our values and reality. And so what I'm going to do with you today is let you listen in on a discussion that I had with one of my friends and colleagues, someone who I love to visit with. She always gives me new insights, new things to chew on and think about. And that's Andrea Rogers. We're going to talk about how to cultivate hope and build strength amidst the journey toward recovery. Andrea is a board certified life coach and certified partner coach with APSATS. She's the founder of Fully Alive Coaching and also does work with me here at my practice, Daring Ventures. And her work has really been birthed from her own journey of recovery from the impact of betrayal. In addition to coaching, she is a Brainspotting practitioner, and she's the host of Blow the Whistle. She's a writer and she's a speaker, and she's just an incredible person that I am happy to either introduce to you for the first time or reintroduce to you if you've heard any of her presentations before. I will let you know this is a conversation we had actually for the 2024 Choose Connection Summit that I hosted back in, I think it was April. And it was such a powerful conversation. It's remained with me, and I thought it would be helpful to share with all of you now today. Before we turn there, I do want to let you know of a few things that are going on. This is the official podcast of APSATS, the Association of Partners of Sex Addict Trauma Specialists. And APSATS has some exciting things going on. If you work with this population, with the folks who have been through betrayal and are seeking to heal from it, and you've never been through APSATS multidimensional partner trauma model training, I would highly, highly, highly encourage you to look into that training. And there is one coming up in January 6th through the 9th, 2025. You can go to apsats.org to learn more about that. It is live via Zoom. If you have questions about certification and the certification process with APSATS, the APSATS president, President Jeannie, will be hosting a Q&A on January 17th. Information there is also available on the APSATS website. And one more thing you can go to apsats.org to learn more about is APSATS' next annual conference. I'm super excited about this. Healing Together, Empowering Partners and the Professionals Who Guide Them. This will be a 3-day live conference held via Zoom, February 5th through the 7th, 2025. Again, apsats.org. You can find out more about that. APSATS wants to also offer you a free gift. And that free gift is a free download called Expectations. What should the betrayed expect from the betrayer in the therapeutic process? Knowing what to expect from the betrayer in the therapeutic process is essential for the betrayed partner to heal from their wounds. And this is a presentation from Dr. Crystal Hollenbeck. And if you go to apsats.org/podcast, and all these links will be in the show notes. So, don't veer off the road or whatever, trying to write it down. It'll be in the show notes for you later. apsats.org/podcast. You can get your free download there. A couple of other free things I want to point you to and offer to you. If you haven't yet gotten your free copy of my new book, Breaking Barriers, Building Bridges, the couple-centered recovery model for lasting connection after betrayal. It's a short, simple little book about healing together as a couple after betrayal. And you can get that free download at drjakeporter.com/breaking barriers. That link will also be in the show notes below. All right. That's enough announcements. That's enough free stuff offers. I'm really eager to let you turn your attention now to this conversation on the all-important topic of hope between my friend Andrea Rogers and me. I know you're going to get a lot out of it. Welcome to this session of the 2024 Choose Connection Summit. I am Dr. Jake Porter, and I am so excited to be here with my friend and colleague, Andrea Rogers. Andrea is a board-certified life coach and certified partner coach with APSATS. She's the founder of Fully Alive Coaching, a practice that was birthed out of her own recovery journey from the impact of betrayal. In addition to coaching, Andrea is a Brainspotting practitioner, podcast host of Blow the Whistle, a writer and a speaker. And I'll just add in here that my appearance on Blow the Whistle it remains one of my favorite interviews I've ever done on a podcast. And I've done a lot of them.
Yeah, it's one of my top rated. Like, I am shocked at how many people have downloaded that one.
Yeah. It was just fun. It was great. It was an Ask Me Anything. You'll probably get a whole bunch more now from this intro. So Andrea has dedicated her life to helping others wake up and experience all that life has to offer. Through her practice, Andrea helps people go on the journey from hurting to healing to wholeness. She works with men, women, and couples who desire to move from a life of fear and scarcity to courageous living and abundance. She has over 20 years of coaching experience and has spent the last 10 years committed to helping those in the areas of problematic sexual behavior and betrayal trauma. When she is not coaching clients, Andrea is spending time with 4 of her favorite humans, also known as her precious children.
Yes.
Andrea, welcome to the Choose Connection Summit, my friend.
Thank you, Jake. I'm so excited to be doing this with you.
Yes, I'm excited to be doing this with you. And I'm going to add in also to your biography that because I do count it just an honor and a privilege that you also get to work with us here at Daring Ventures. And so,
Yes,
if not only
tell people.
Yeah, not only is it great because I know you do great work, but that, I get to see you a whole lot more for that reason. So it's good.
Yeah, and it's kind of really a dream come true. Like, this is a true story you can validate, right?
Yes.
The first time I met you, I came up to you and I said, if you ever need another coach, you didn't know me from a lady off the street.
I did not. This
but
is true.
I said to you, if you ever need another coach, I'm your girl.
Yeah.
And 3 years later, that dream came true. So I am honored to be a part of such an amazing team and this work that you do. You are an awesome leader, and I'm not just saying that. Everybody who meets Jake knows that what you see is what you get, and he's an authentic person. So
you're gonna make me blush. Come on now. Thank you. Well, and so are you, and that's one of the reasons I'm really excited about this session, this talk, this topic that you chose of hope, around hope. Hope after betrayal, hope after discovery of betrayal. And it's so huge and critical, and I just know it's a big issue. It's one of those existential issues for people who are walking this journey. And so let's just start with this. What is hope?
Yeah. So this is an Andrea Rogers definition. If I ever come out with a dictionary, this will be my definition of hope. And my definition of hope is just the belief that things can be better or different.
Oh, wow.
That's it in the simplest terms. And hope is always something that we hold out in front of us. It's for things that have not yet happened.
Hmm.
So, people listening to me today are probably going to say, like, wow, she's talking out of both sides of her mouth, because I'm going to be talking about hope as a really powerful force, but also how dangerous false hope can be.
Mm.
So I want people to have hope because I know the power of it. But just like with great privilege and great power comes great responsibility. So I want people to have a hope that really does move them towards that something better or different that they desire, and not have them stuck in a cycle of really wishing and their wishes not coming true and being disappointed and thinking hope is a bad thing. Hope is
Right.
a very powerful force.
Yeah, that's so good. And hope is actually one of our core values here at Daring Ventures. This is the way we talked about it. Assured expectations. We joyfully anticipate progress. Healing happens, flourishing follows, and we expect to see it, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. With patience, we smile, cry, laugh, and hurt with our clients and one another as we trust the process.
Yes.
I really like your very simple sentence better. It may show up on the website. I'll put a footnote.
It's fine. It's fine.
No, it's good, but we both know, especially in those really early days after the discovery of hidden betrayal, that it's hard to hold on to hope.
Sure.
So let's move there. What are some of the challenges of holding on to hope after the discovery of betrayal?
Yeah. And I chose this topic because it is one of the things I think that I spend the most time on with people.
Wow.
But I also think it was one of the things, and I'm not taking credit for this myself because it only had to be God. It's one of the things that I did so well
Oh,
from
wow.
day one
Yeah.
of discovery.
Yeah.
So day one of discovery, I said this with no evidence that it would ever be true. I said, I don't know what's going to happen to this marriage, to my family, to my life. I don't even know what this means. But I know that I'm going to be better on the other side of this.
Wow. I got chills.
Yeah. It sounded so dumb at the time. It was like, I don't even know where it came from. And so
Wow.
that's why I want to talk about this to people, especially who are in the beginning, because part of the challenge of holding on to hope is the uncertainty of the future.
Mm.
When we experience trauma, what do? We automatically try to seek safety,
Right.
but we want that safety in certainty. And
Yes.
we know that our reality is shattered. The future is very uncertain. And so when we try to seek safety in that certainty of things that we don't control, it can be very hard to hold on to hope. So that's why I think that declaration that I made was so powerful, because I didn't know what was going to happen in my marriage.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going to happen to my family. There was no way I could have foreseen all the things that I was going to go through. But how much control did I have over being better? Like, that was 100% within my control. So, the challenges of holding on to hope is when we try to seek certainty in things that are uncertain, because that's always going to lead to disappointment. Another
Wow.
thing is just the variability of factors that go into each person's stories. Trauma is complex. Studies around betrayal trauma are so young. I mean, we are still very much in the infancy stages of understanding this. And so we can't point to a ton of data and say, here's what the data shows us. And the factors that go into that. So your age, the length of your marriage, how long the betrayal's been going on, your health, your socioeconomic status, your race, there are so many factors that go into each of our stories, that trying to find something to hold on to hope, you could hear 10 partner stories that all have different factors. And so we don't have that ability to say, well, I can point to this research or that research, kind of like we can with other things. We don't have
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Right.
I think another big factor that makes it hard to hold on to hope is how much time it takes to heal.
Oh,
This is not a quick process.
no.
No matter
No.
how much we want it to be, no matter how much we wish it was. I don't know about you, but in my 10 years of doing this, I have not met people who said, oh, I heal so much faster than I ever thought I would.
No.
Like this wasn't nearly as bad
No.
as I thought it would be. It
No.
is that bad, and it does take that much time. And so if we don't have a really good understanding of hope, we can become hopeless. And so this process takes the time that it takes. And for most people, that feels like too long, if we're being honest.
Oh yeah,
right?
For sure.
So then that last thing, I think, is what I said. It's a misunderstanding of what it means to have hope, that people have a distorted or a misplaced hope, and they confuse a hope and a wish. And when their wishes don't come true, then they feel hopeless.
Oh, okay. My brain's going in like 1,000 directions. So I want to go all the way back. Well, I want to tie what you just said about misplaced hope, and, hope versus wish, all the way back to when you talked about that thought that entered your mind on day one of your discovery. And you said, I think you said, like, it sounded stupid at the time. Mm-hmm. Right? Like it takes courage to have hope.
Sure.
Right? It takes courage. But I'm reminded of a meme that I saw recently. Here we go, quoting me. Since we don't have peer-reviewed research articles on betrayal trauma, we'll turn to memes.
Same thing.
Right? So we'll use what we can. But no, it was something like this. It said, courage is moving forward in the face of potential danger. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, stupidity is the same thing.
Exactly.
So it's like, well, so what's the difference?
Exactly.
And I think that's really related to hoping versus wishing, and this distinction that you're bringing out here. So what is distorted hope or misplaced hope or false hope? What is that?
Yeah. Patrick Doyle calls it hopium, right? He says it's like a drug. And we get a hit of hopium, and we keep shooting ourselves up with that hopium over and over again. But really, this idea for me came from reading Dr. Henry Cloud. He's the author of Boundaries. Yes. But in his book, Necessary Endings, he talks about a hope versus a wish, and how a hope is really based in something from the past that says that what we're believing for is possible. So, for example, if you have faith, God has a proven track record of showing up, of keeping his promises, of getting us through hard times. So I can put hope in God, right? That he is going to show up for me even at the moment of my discovery, like that he's not surprised by it, right? So I don't just wish that. I have evidence from my life, from other people's lives, from the scriptures that I read that tell me, hey, yeah, this is real. So sometimes people talk about hope as if it's just this thing we drum up, but that's really the wish, like the thing we do on birthday cakes, when we blow out the candles. So I want to read exactly what Dr. Cloud wrote, because there was no way for me to paraphrase it and make it sound better than what he said.
Okay.
Yeah. So he says, distorted hope is hope that is not in touch with reality or that is confused with a wish. Real hope is based on some indication from the past that what I'm hoping for is possible. Okay, so here's his exact quote. If we are not in touch with reality hope is almost always hurting us.
Wow.
Hope can keep us going down a road that has no realistic chance of being the right road or making what we want come to pass. In a false reality, hope is the worst quality to have. False hope buys us more time to spend on something that is not going to work and keeps us from seeing reality. We have our feet planted firmly. We have to have our feet planted firmly in reality in order to harness the true power of hope. And this sentence right here is one I highlighted, starred, underlined. So if people don't take anything else from this, this is
Hear
what I
this.
want you to hear. When you feel hopeful about the outcome of something over which you have only a small amount of control, always do a reality check.
Wow.
Now go back to what I said about the declaration I made and why at the time I didn't know that it was so powerful. But when I read this, it made it very clear to me, because the outcome of me being better was something over which I had a whole lot of control.
Right.
My marriage, my family, my life, my income, whatever, all the other thousands of things that came from that, I did not have a lot of control over those. And so I was not putting my hope in that. And I honestly believe that if people can get this, it will make such a big difference in their recovery.
Yeah. That is so good. It's kind of one of those gut punch lines, that in and of itself is a reality check.
Yes.
Just hearing that is really, really great. Now I've got another book to add to my list.
Yeah. Can I give an
yeah.
example? Because
Yeah,
people always
please.
say, all right,
Yeah.
give me an example of what this means. So here's an example of something I see very often.
Okay.
Not that the betraying partner doesn't go to therapy. They actually do go to therapy, right? They go to groups. They seem to be doing the work. But instead of seeing fruit at home, right, the partner is seeing that what he's learning in therapy or groups now becomes a weapon. He knows the language. He knows how to talk the talk. And so before and after discovery, the partner is not feeling heard. They don't feel like, they're looking around. This person doesn't have any healthy relationships. They continue in compulsive behaviors. And I don't mean the sexual ones. I mean, they now all of a sudden are playing a lot of video games, or their recovery becomes an addiction. They got to go to all the meetings and listen to all the podcasts. Their anger's still explosive. And yet, as a partner, I have a hope that if I send him the right podcast, or just get him connected with Dr. Jake, get him into Daring Ventures, like that's going to change his mind. And that is a misplaced hope, because a person who is convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. That's a quote, but it's true.
Yeah.
Right? A person who's not convinced that they need to change, who's not willing to change, who's not motivated to change on their own, no amount of dragging them is going to change that. So that's a misplaced or distorted hope, because we are putting it into an outcome that we don't control.
Yeah. That is so good. That is so good. And I as you're saying that, I'm like thinking through couples that clients we've shared, and almost kind of sorting them, oh yeah, maybe that one, she had some distorted hope there, and that, oh no, this one, there was something to work with. There was a basis there. It might've been small, it might've been tiny, but there was some willingness on the other side. And, wow, let's shift, because this I mean, we hope that this is a benefit to everybody, but we're designing this particular summit for couples, and let's talk about hope in the relationship. How does hope benefit the relationship?
Yeah. I mean, this is like the meat of what we're talking about, that when you have healthy hope, it is powerful in the most difficult situations. Like when you
Yes.
look at the medical research of people who survive traumatic accidents, people, when you read books on Holocaust survivors, when you find people who survive like situations that seem survivable, it is their hope that makes the difference, right? So couples who come in and they have this really healthy sense of, hey, if I do the work and you do the work, and
Right.
we're working towards the same goal as a couple. Like we both want this, not
Yes.
just because we don't want to be divorced or because we're scared, but because our values, the things that we connect on, really both align with this marriage is something we want to fight for. It can move a couple so far forward, and hope becomes the light at the end of the tunnel when you're walking through all this darkness. Why are we doing disclosure? Why are we doing a polygraph? Why are we spending so much money and so much time going to counseling? And you have counseling and I have counseling. And now this is our whole world. Why in the world are we doing this? Well, because we have a hope that on the other side of this, we can have a marriage was that we really thought we had on the day we took our vows. We really can have something that leaves a good legacy for our children. We really can have something that gives other people coming behind us in this situation hope. And so, when people get a diagnosis of something, what are the things that the doctors tell them to give them hope? They tell them about all the patients they've had who recovered, who healed well, who went into remission, who live fully functional lives. And so when we have that kind of hope, it propels us, it keeps us going, it like energizes us. And without it, we really can sink into a despair and a depression, because this isn't a quick process. You are going to have a lot of hard work to do. But the power of the human spirit that has hope can create change and positive outcomes in ways that are miraculous. So when you have two people who have hope in the right direction, like that's not like an outcome like, oh, we're gonna save our marriage. We're gonna be one of those couples that writes a book. But the couples I see who heal really well, and you can tell me if you agree with this, are the ones who come in and say, you know what? We don't know how this is going to turn out, but we're willing to give it all we got.
That's
Like,
right.
And the guy will say, if he's the betrayer, I'm not doing this for her. I mean, I want to do this for her, but I'm not doing it for her. I'm doing it because I want to be a better man, because I want to be who God has called me to be, because I recognize I wasn't living in wholeness before, and I don't want to go back to that person. And the partner will say, I'm doing this because I want to be better, because I want to be wiser, and I want to be, the kind of woman that can survive these things or be a better mother to my children. Like the motivation for both of them is something inside of them, but the coupleship benefits from that because both of them have a healthy hope.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And I mean, I agree with all of that. And one additional thing that was coming up for me just as I was listening to you is I think that couples who have that healthy hope, one of the things it enables them to do is to admit hardship in the present moment, right? So if I have a true, authentic, healthy hope that things can be better, it gives me permission to talk about how things aren't good right now. Exactly. And if I'm the one who committed the betrayal, to say, I screwed that up. I crossed that boundary. I dropped the ball on that commitment. I reacted poorly. To own it in the moment, because my hope isn't in this moment. Like I'm trusting that there's something better out there, which frees me in this moment to be real,
Yes.
And for the betrayed partner in the same way, like to have eyes wide open about reality, about what's happening here now. So I think there's maybe like a reciprocal relationship between reality and hope, but hope and reality as well. Like, I can't have authentic hope without being grounded in reality, but also something about having hope makes it safer to accept reality as it is. I don't know. That's what was coming up for me listening to you there.
That is exactly right. And that's why that, Dr. Cloud's quote about in reality is so important, because a hope that is distorted can't be rooted and grounded in the present, as you're saying. And I want to say, like, part of this talk came out of, at the same time I was going through my own healing journey. My sister was dying. To be in a place to have to accept that this person that I loved, that was once young and vibrant, is dying way before I could even imagine it was time, taught me about what it meant to have hope. And it's exactly what you're saying. As much as I wanted my sister to get better, no amount of my hoping for that was going to make it happen. And so I had to come to this acceptance of reality. She's not going to get better. So how do I, in this moment, make the most of the present? Like, what do I do in the present so that when that reality does show up, I'm not blindsided by it. I'm not caught off guard. I haven't been in a denial. Like, I've been grieving a reality that I know is coming. And so, did I still grieve when my sister died? Do I still grieve her every day? Absolutely. But something about, like what you said, having that hope that not that she's going to be healed on this side of heaven,
right,
but that she's going to be pain free. She's going to be free of hospitals and wheelchairs and poking. Help me to stay in that healthy place of hope in my own recovery.
Wow.
Right? That if I really believe in my faith, right? I'm a Christian. In my faith, it says that God is with me. That's my hope. Not that he gives me exactly what I want, but especially when I get what I don't want, that he comforts me in my brokenheartedness, right? So, but my only hope isn't in that, oh, my marriage is going to survive, but my hope is that God is with me no matter what, right? And so couples who come in, who can have that hope that, hey, no matter what, if we're both committed to our own healing and wholeness, we're going to win. We're going to win either way. We're going to win if it takes 2 years, 5 years. If we're like Kathy and Conrad and we divorce and get back together,
right?
It's like either way, we win. We win because ultimately healing and wholeness is what matters most. And yes, we want our relationship to survive, but even if it doesn't, I can still have hope.
Oh, it's good. I feel like I've been to church.
Amen. Pass
on. So, thinking again about hope and its place in couples, the dynamic of couples healing from betrayal. Let's throw trust in the mix now. What role does trust play in having this healthy, authentic hope?
Yeah. So if hope is based in reality, it requires trust. Right? It's unwise to place our hope in things or people that are untrustworthy. So if I have a chair that every time I sit in this chair, the chair gives out on me, it's not healthy for me to keep going to sit in a chair and hoping that it'll hold me up just because it's my favorite chair. Right?
Yeah.
So if a person has proven that they are not trustworthy, it's not wise to put hope in them. Now, can they do the work to rebuild that trust and be trustworthy? Yes, but until then, it's unwise, right? There's a proverb that says confidence in an unfaithful man in a time of trouble is like a broken tooth or a foot out of joint.
Ow. That's great. I love Proverbs.
I know. It's just like, and when you read in different translations, they put it in plain English. But the reason that that's important, right, is like you were talking about. If I'm the betraying person and I know I have lied all throughout my marriage, I'm not going to be over promising to my partner because I know that I'm not a trustworthy person yet. So even I am not putting a lot of trust in myself, right? If I'm real.
Good. That's good.
Right? Yeah.
We got to pause on that for just a second. That's so huge right there, and as someone in recovery myself, right? Something I try to remind myself of is that between my wife and I, one of the two of us has a better historical relationship to reality than the other, and it is not me.
Right.
So even with all the work I've done and the healing I've experienced and all of that, there's a reality that informs my trust, and I see that connection to hope. And so what am I going to have that assured expectation of?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not setting yourself up for failure. And shame will do that for the betraying partner. They will feel the shame will come in and say, "Oh, got to cover that up. Don't talk about that." But honestly, the betrayers who can admit, like you said, I really broke this. No, I mean, I will never forget this. It hasn't happened often, so I can remember it. But a partner was saying to her husband, he was the betrayer, "I don't trust you. I can't trust you. You broke, you lied, you did this, you did that." And he was sitting there and I was like, oh my goodness, what is he going to say? Because he was just nodding his head. And he said, "You know what? Don't trust me because I'm not trustworthy." I was like,
wow. Which is the most trustworthy thing he had probably said in a really long time.
Exactly. And so what did that do for her? That gave her hope because it was like my old husband would have been like, "You just don't trust me and you should. And, I don't know why." And he would have been defensive and, minimizing and all the things. But him admitting what was true, "Hey, I'm not trustworthy. Don't put your trust in me," gave her hope. So we want to have hope in things that we can trust, things that we can trust. And if we can't trust it, it's not wise to put our hope in it, even when it's our partner.
Yeah. Right. So on that, taking that, how can a misplaced hope or a false hope, misguided hope, unfounded hope, I could keep going with the synonyms here. How could that false hope actually get in the way of the healing process? Let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah. So I want to use an example like disclosure, right?
Okay. Yeah.
When I'm preparing a partner for disclosure, and this is something I hear 90% of them saying, "Well, he said he's told me everything." He says I pretty much know everything. So they've got this hope that the worst is over, right? That I'm going to come into this disclosure and I'm not going to find out anything new. Well, guess what happens if there's 10 pages of things that they don't know? and they've been holding on to that hope that I already know everything. The worst is over. They're going to be even more in more despair, in more. It's almost like it sends them back even further than the original discovery, because they've set up this false hope that I'm going forward, like the worst is over. And what I will say is, I really want to believe that with you. And I have to tell you that in my 10 years of doing disclosures, the number of partners who come in and know everything, I can probably count on one hand. So can we leave room that you probably don't know everything? I'm like, if you do, great. We don't.
Bonus. Yeah.
Right. It's a bonus. But if you come in assuming I really don't know everything, now we can prepare you with the proper tools. We can help you get some good self-care. We can talk about worst case scenarios. We can help you think through, like, if this comes up, what would you do? Right? So now I'm helping her heal even in the process of the waiting. And so when we have a hope around something like trusting words, right? Then we set ourselves up. Now I'm not just being betrayed by you, but in some ways I'm also betraying myself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so this is why it's like such a sensitive topic. Talked to Stacy about this, and she's like, we don't want to yank that blanket of denial off too soon. And I'm like, yeah, that is so true. However, we also don't want to leave it up for too long, because then when we leave it up for too long, it's almost like a person who is going through all this treatment and they think they're getting better, and then they go to the doctor and the doctor's like, oh, you don't even have rheumatoid arthritis. You actually have multiple sclerosis. So you did a lot of healing in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is way more disappointing than, hey, let me think through this up front and sit with this hard reality, and what does it really look like for me to heal, even in things that I don't want to face.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So let's change directions again. So good distinction between this false hope, this misguided, misplaced hope, and an authentic true hope, grounded in reality. How does one go about cultivating hope? So we've got listeners right now, they're hearing this and they're either realizing some of their hope has been misplaced, or they're like, I haven't had hope, period. How can people go about cultivating hope after betrayal?
Yeah. This is really powerful when I see this happen. So it's kind of like planting a garden, right? When I go to the store, I don't care how much I look at those seed packets or how many of them I bring home. If I don't actually put any in the ground, I'm never going to see what it is I'm hoping for.
Ooh.
Right? So you have to plant something. And again, it has to be rooted in something real. I can't go buy watermelon seeds and hope that I'm getting, cucumbers. If I plant watermelon, I'm getting watermelon. And so a person who is planted in reality, one is getting a good education. They're seeing a CSAT or an APSATS trained coach, clinician. There's a structured plan. Like, I know, like how Daring Ventures, you have the chart that shows, like, here's where the partner is, here's where the betrayer is. There's a reliable method. In APSATS, we have the multidimensional partner trauma model, right? We're working with something that is rooted in a good solid foundation, having well-trained professional support. I love church. I love the people at my church. But just going to my small group at church is not going to help me heal from my betrayal trauma or help my partner that is stuck in addiction. And this is really hard for a lot of believing people, right? But we pray. We're just going to pray. We're going to commit to 90 days of prayer and fasting. We're going to do a deliverance. And I'm like, all that is great. And can we add something to that? So we want to have a process that promotes actual healing. And then we need supportive people. We got to have supportive people.
Yes.
We need community to help us heal. And this can be really hard because we're ashamed. The partner's ashamed. The betrayer's ashamed. We're ashamed as a couple, especially if we've been kind of an out front couple. We're ashamed. We don't want to tell anybody. But no one heals in isolation. So hope is contagious. You know, you get around people who have hope and it's contagious. So we need supportive people. And then we already talked about this, but we also need a willingness to change that comes from our own values. It's got to be a self-motivated hope. We cannot borrow our partner's hope, because then when they don't respond the way we want them to, or they don't give us a pat on the back, or they disappoint us again, now we have no hope. So our hope has to be coming from our own values and self-motivated. We already talked about it being realistic, right? Some evidence that what I'm hoping for is possible. And then these last two are really big in cultivating healthy hope, not tying it to limited outcomes, right? The only way I can have hope is if nobody finds out. And you know, all it was, and I'm saying all it was, not as if this is small, but this is what people say, right? If it's just porn and masturbation, I can accept that. But if I find out he had an actual affair, and everybody has their limits, but I'm saying that when your hope is limited to, I can only tolerate this outcome, then I'm not going to have a lot of room to have hope, because hope is expansive. Hope looks at possibilities. Hope explores, right? And so when we put our hope in a specific outcome and we only have one, then we miss the possibility that our better, the thing that we're hoping to be better, could show up in a way that's different than we were expecting.
Yes.
So again, Kathy and Conrad as an example. If Kathy's only hope was that the marriage survives, you know, she would have been hopeless when they divorced. But I think she had a real solid hope that, like, this can be better if these things happen. And so she focused on her healing and was committed to that. And in her healing, it was like, hey, well, being divorced isn't the worst thing. And as I do my work and he does his work, guess what? We come back together. And now look at what they have in their relationship. Right?
I'm reminded of this little sign. I think it's probably like the front of a greeting card. And Kristen's had it for years. Before we got married, she had it hanging in her bathroom. It's still hanging in the guest bathroom of our home today. But it says, God's three answer to prayers: yes, not yet, and I've got something better.
Yeah.
That's hope. You know, notice that no is not an option there. Right? Yes, not yet, and I've got something better. And there, I think that speaks to that openness you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that brings up my last point, right? In cultivating hope, which is focusing on what's within our control. So, you know, we can plant, we can water, we can do all that's humanly possible. But no matter how much I go and stand over what I planted and watered, I can't make it grow. And so, you know, we plant and we water, and then we trust God, we trust our higher power, we trust the process, right? That the increase will come. Like you said, it could be yes, not yet, I've got something better. So it might show up in a different way than we expected. But ultimately, we win because we're still going in the direction of hope and healing.
Yes. Oh, that's so good and hopeful. Like I literally feel it, because I love that idea. I love this last part of this discussion, that it's almost like we can practice being hopeful. We can sow seeds of hopefulness, reality based, with intention, but there's a practice we can engage to bring this about in our lives. It's so good.
Yes, we do. We have control over the hope that we have. We don't have to be hopeless. We really don't. We can have hope, and I want people to know that. That's what strengthens you in the storm, right?
That's
knowing that is in your control. You don't have to be hopeless.
Right. Oh, Andrea, this was awesome. I'm so grateful that I got to do your interview this year and have this conversation with you. It's meaningful. It's important. I was encouraged by it. Thank you for not just the work you do, but thank you for who you are, my friend. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Jake. That means a lot to me.
Yeah. All right. Well, Andrea, how can folks get a hold of you if they want to? We'll have all this in the show notes, but let's say someone's just listening to the audio while they run or something like that. How can people get a hold of you?
They can go to my website, Fully Alive Coaching LLC. They can also go to the Daring Ventures website and find me on there. Both of those places have my email. They can subscribe and listen to my podcast.
There you go.
The Whistle with Coach Andrea. I'm on all the social media: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, at Coach Andrea FAC. So people can find me in any one of those ways.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you, Andrea.
We'll
see Jake. You soon.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Betrayal Recovery Radio, hosted by Dr. Jake Porter. If you value the content we've shared today, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review. This helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. For more resources, visit APSATS.org. That's APSATS.org.